It happened over mashed potatoes. 1 second I was pushing peas around my plate, pretending to care about Aunt Rhonda's third divorce story. The next, Lena raised her wine glass and said the one thing that changed everything. "To my beautiful sister Maya," she said sweetly, smiling like we'd ever liked each other. "It's so brave what you've been through. I admire how you've moved on." The fork stopped halfway to my mouth. The room didn't go silent, not right away, that took a few seconds. Just long enough for the meaning to settle in. For her smile to twist. For my stomach to drop. Moved on. My cousin Jules looked at me like someone had just announced my funeral. My dad, already 2 glasses in, blinked like he was trying to solve a puzzle. And Lena, my perfect, polished, manipulative sister, just sat there, sipping Merlot like she hadn't just set the table on fire. I swallowed. Moved on from what? She cocked her head. Oh, thought. Sorry, I assumed everyone knew. Maya's little, breakdown. Last spring. And there it was. The secret I told her in confidence. The lowest moment of my life, laid out like garnish between cranberry sauce and turkey gravy. One panic attack. One night where I lost it, really lost it, after months of holding it all in. And I told Lena because I thought, I don't even know what I thought, that maybe blood meant something. She smiled like she was being generous. I mean, mental health is important. And we shouldn't hide these things, right? I could feel everyone staring at me. My hands were shaking under the table, but I didn't move. I didn't speak. I didn't blink. I just looked at her. She knew what she'd done. She wanted to break me. Right there in front of our family, with the table set and the candles flickering like we were still pretending this was a normal holiday. I didn't flinch. Not even when Mom gasped. Not even when Uncle Rick cleared his throat and tried to shift the conversation to football. Whoa. I sat there and took a breath. Then I smiled. Because that's when I realized. Lena didn't know me at all. She thought I'd fall apart. She thought I'd run to my room, cry into my scarf, and let her win. That's what she expected. But I don't play by expectations anymore. Not since last spring. Lena has always needed the spotlight. She was the golden child. The overachiever. The one with the shiny hair and the perfect transcript and the Instagram full of fake best friends and even faker joy. And me. I was the quiet one. The background. The fill-in-the-blank sibling who didn't make waves. But that doesn't mean I wasn't watching. She thought I didn't notice how she always turned conversations back to herself. How she'd ask you a question just to pivot into a story about her latest Pilates obsession. She weaponized charm the way some people use knives. Softly, expertly, until you're bleeding and you don't even know how. The problem is, people like Lena think kindness is weakness. And they always underestimate the quiet ones. That night after dinner, I didn't say a word. I cleared the plates, smiled through clenched teeth, and kissed relatives goodbye like I hadn't just been humiliated in front of them all. I didn't scream. I didn't confront her. I went home, made tea, and started planning. Not revenge. Not exactly. Something colder than that. Something final. Here's what most people get wrong about betrayal. They think the pain is loud, dramatic, explosive. It's not. It's quiet. It's sitting in your car after a holiday dinner, watching the frost climb the windshield, replaying every word like a song you never asked to hear. It's reading the old texts where she promised to keep your confidence. It's remembering the time she said, "You can always talk to me. I'm your sister." And it's realizing none of it meant anything. That's the part that sticks. Not the secret. Not even the shame. But the moment you realize someone looked at your pain and saw an opportunity. She picked the wrong target. Lena doesn't know it yet, but the game started the second she opened her mouth. She took something that wasn't hers to take, my vulnerability, and threw it into the room like confetti. She wanted a reaction. She wanted a scene. What she got was silence. But not the kind she can handle. The kind that's thinking. The kind that's calculating. Starts now. I'm not going to scream or plead or defend myself. I'm going to wait. Plan. Because Lena has secrets too. And unlike her, I don't need an audience to burn someone down. I just need the truth. And the patience to deliver it when it matters most. Thanksgiving may have been hers. But the next move. That belongs to me. You'd think betrayal would come from enemies. But Lena never needed to be my enemy. She just needed to be my sister. After Thanksgiving I didn't text her. She didn't call. We went radio silent. Not out of shock, not out of guilt, but out of calculation. She was waiting for me to explode so she could paint me unstable. I was waiting for her to get comfortable again. I knew she would. She always does. Growing up with Lena was like sharing a room with a spotlight. She didn't shine, she blinded people. Especially my parents. Even as a kid, she knew how to control a room. At 12, she could lie through her teeth and still get dessert. I once got grounded for breaking a vase she shattered. Because she cried and I couldn't. They said I was the sensitive one. I wasn't. I was just honest. Lena was the golden girl. Homecoming queen, 4.0 GPA, social butterfly. She always found a way to win. And when she couldn't win, she made sure no one else did either. I remember the first time she lied about me to my mom. I was 9. She told her I took money from her wallet. I hadn't. But it didn't matter. She cried. Got blamed. And that's how it went. Over and over. She never yelled. She didn't hit. She didn't call me names. She just rewrote the story. By the time I was in high school, we didn't even speak unless we had to. She'd pass me in the hallway like I was air. But in front of others. We were close. She'd post selfies with captions like, Sister Vibes 2 hearts #blessed. People ate it up. I smiled in every photo like it didn't cost me a piece of myself. When I got accepted into a summer writing program, she accidentally forgot to tell our parents until it was too late to register. When I had my first panic attack during senior year finals, she told her friends I was just being dramatic. I still remember her tone. Flat. Shrugging. Maya just gets like that sometimes. It's exhausting. That was Lena's real talent. Plausible deniability. She never stabbed you. She handed you the knife and let you do it yourself. After college, we both moved back home temporarily. I had just left a toxic job and was recovering from a burnout I didn't see coming. Lena was between projects, which meant she was spending most of her time taking Instagram photos of her smoothie bowls and pretending to be spiritually aligned. I was broke. She was bored. Bad combination. It was during that time I told her about what happened in April. The night I sat in my car for 2 hours outside a Walgreens parking lot, crying so hard I forgot how to breathe. I don't know why I told her. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I thought, she's my sister. She'll get it. She nodded, offered me a lukewarm hug, and told me she was proud of me for opening up. She held on to that secret like a trophy. And waited until Thanksgiving to smash it on the table. But here's the thing Lena didn't count on. I don't break the way I used to. Therapy taught me something valuable. Silence isn't surrender. It's preparation. So I got to work. I started with the obvious. Her social media. Lena lives on Instagram the way people used to live in church. Sacred, curated, flawless. But scroll long enough and the cracks show. I started building a file. Nothing illegal, nothing dramatic, not yet. Just screenshots. Timeline inconsistencies. Things she said versus things she posted. I knew I'd need receipts. Then I made a list, a literal handwritten list, of every lie I could remember her telling. Filled a page. Then 2. I didn't know exactly how I was going to use it. Not yet. But I knew I would. She texted me 3 days after Thanksgiving. Lena. Hey. Sorry if you were upset. I didn't mean anything by it. Hope you're feeling better, sparkling heart. I stared at the message for 5 full minutes before replying. Of course. Thanks for checking in. I needed her to believe I'd moved on. That the moment passed. That she won. Because that's when people like her get sloppy. And Lena. She was always a little too in love with her own reflection to notice who's standing behind her with the match. My mom used to say, revenge is a dish best served never. But Mom didn't know what it's like to be erased by your own blood. To sit at a table full of people who think they know you, while your sister smirks and tells the story of your ruin. Some things don't deserve forgiveness. Some things deserve consequences. And I was done pretending to be the quiet one. She wanted the spotlight. Fine. But when it turns around, and the truth hits her face like raw heat, she better not blink. I didn't become the villain overnight. It took years of being the afterthought. Years of being the invisible one. Years of letting other people tell my story while I sat there, politely smiling, hoping someone would notice I was drowning. So when I decided to finally flip the script, I knew I had to be careful. No fireworks. No warnings. Just a slow, steady dismantling. I started small. The morning after Lena's fake apology text, I created a folder on my desktop. I labeled it "For Later." Nothing dramatic. Nothing she could ever guess from the name. Inside I started dropping everything. Screenshots of her Instagram captions versus real-life events. Snippets from our old group chats where she twisted facts or rewrote timelines. DMs she sent others about me. The ones I wasn't supposed to see. The ones where she called me emotionally volatile. Or just too sensitive to handle real life. I even downloaded backup copies of her wellness podcast episodes. Each one was worse than the last. She preached authenticity like she hadn't lied to half the people she'd interviewed. "Honor your truth," she said in one. I nearly laughed. Her truth was a performance. Mine was a loaded gun. Then came the journal. I hadn't touched it in over a year. But something told me to open it. Page after page of old entries, most written late at night, when I felt small and stupid and useless. But hidden between the heartbreaks were moments of clarity. One from 6 months ago stood out. Lena posted about my art show and said she was proud. I found out later she only came for 5 minutes and left before my speech. I smiled anyway. Reading it now made my skin crawl. Not because it hurt, but because I let it happen. I let her shape my story like I was a side character in her highlight reel. Not anymore. I went deeper. Lena had always been protective of her laptop. So I knew if anything real existed, it wouldn't be there. But she had a second phone. The business phone. It wasn't locked. Because she was arrogant. Because she thought no one would ever think to look. She left it charging in the kitchen one night while she showered. I walked in, heart pounding so loud I couldn't hear myself think. I unplugged it, walked calmly to the guest room and opened her email app. There were folders. Brand collabs. Speaking gigs. Legal. Personal. Legal. Click. Inside. A PDF marked India's past clients. A signed letter about an incident with a former business partner. One she publicly denied ever working with. A flagged email thread titled, "Reputation Cleanup Strategy." That one stopped me cold. I read the thread 3 times. Apparently, 2 months before Thanksgiving, Lena had hired a freelance PR consultant to monitor and suppress online mentions of a dispute with a former client. She'd even considered buying fake testimonials to bury bad reviews. Miss Authenticity Advocate was buying her credibility. I forwarded the email to myself, then deleted the sent record. It wasn't explosive. Not yet. But it was a crack. And cracks spread. I didn't go after her right away. I wanted her to relax. So I started showing up more. Commented on her posts. Laughed at her stories. Texted her links to inspirational quotes. And told her they reminded me of her. She took the bait. Started texting more. Even invited me to one of her yoga workshops like we were suddenly healed. "People love seeing us together," she said. "It's good for my brand." Course it was. I went. Mile. Took pictures. Posted one with a caption that read, "Sisters. The bond that never breaks dizzy." The irony nearly choked me. The more I smiled, the more she slipped. She started bragging. About a new client she signed. A sponsorship deal. Even a pitch she sent to a network for a show idea she stole from someone else. He nodded. Recorded every word. Then came the fundraiser dinner. She invited me to sit with her team. Her inner circle. Half of them were strangers. The other half. I'd seen them cry at brunches when Lena wasn't looking. She gave a speech about resilience, about overcoming hard times. And she used my story, the panic attack, as an anecdote about a family member she helped through a dark time. Everyone clapped. I stared at her the whole time. She didn't even flinch. I think that was the moment something inside me clicked for good. Not into anger, into focus. I spent the next 2 weeks connecting dots. I found 3 people who had worked with Lena in the past, all of whom had stories they weren't ready to tell publicly, but were more than willing to confirm privately. Gaslighting, broken contracts, ways. Each one gave me receipts. I stored it all, quietly. No confrontations, no warning text, just gathering. I started to feel like a surgeon prepping for a clean, bloodless cut. Every detail mattered. Every file, every folder, every keyword. Then, one night, while organizing the last pieces, I stumbled on something I hadn't expected. A draft blog post she'd written but never published. Titled, "When Family Becomes Dead Weight." It was about me. It wasn't subtle. She had outlined how some people in your life drain you, how setting boundaries sometimes means cutting out the weak links. I read it twice. Once with disbelief. Once with understanding. She'd always planned to erase me. Thanksgiving wasn't a slip. It was strategy. So now I had mine. People think revenge looks like rage. Like fists pounding on doors or shattered picture frames. But that's not what it looks like. Not when it's real. Not when it's earned. Real revenge looks like a smile. A well-placed compliment. An invitation accepted with grace. A seat taken at a table you're planning to flip. A week after I read Lena's blog draft, the one where she called me dead weight without using my name, she invited me to lunch. Girls' Day, she said. Just us. Said yes. She picked a rooftop cafe in the Arts District. Overpriced kale salads, mood lighting, and waiters who speak like they're allergic to enthusiasm. She wore her usual brand. Effortless elegance. Linen jumpsuit. Gold hoops. A scarf around her wrist that probably cost more than my entire outfit. You look amazing, I said. She lit up. You too. You're glowing. Something changed. Smiled. Just been sleeping better. That was technically true. I was sleeping like someone who knew a storm was coming, and wasn't afraid of the lightning anymore. Over lunch, she told me how proud she was of me. It really meant a lot that you didn't lash out, she said. I know that dinner must have been intense. She gave me that look again. The one that hides a smirk behind concern. I've grown, I said. Besides, it's not worth holding on to bitterness. She nodded like a teacher rewarding the good student. Exactly. Letting go is power. I watched her sip her green juice and imagined her face the moment she realized what I was really doing. Power doesn't come from letting go. Power comes from knowing when to strike. Played the role well. Over the next few weeks, I mirrored everything she gave me. Commented on her posts. Reposted her podcast episodes with captions like, "So proud of this one red heart." I even showed up to her Women in Wellness mixer and smiled through every exhausting moment. Every time someone said, "You two are so close," I nodded. And every time Lena said, "I don't know what I'd do without her," I laughed. But I kept collecting. At that mixer, I overheard a conversation between her and one of her brand partners. Something about inflating engagement numbers using fake followers. It wasn't illegal, but it was enough to get her dropped if anyone credible caught wind. That went into the folder. The best part. She started trusting me again. Or at least she believed I'd stopped caring. She began to confide. About her debt. About the speaking event that fell through. About how a former client might stir up drama over a contract clause she bent. I work so hard, she told me one night, wine glass in hand. People don't see how hard it is to build something from scratch. I nodded, setting my tea down gently. It's a lot, I said. But you've always figured it out. She beamed. I wanted to vomit. The closer I got, the easier it became to see the cracks. Lena was addicted to the performance. Not the truth. She curated every detail of her life like an exhibit. Even her problems were aesthetic. Burnout, creative fatigue, too many offers to manage. But I saw through it. She wasn't just fragile. She was drowning. The finances were real. Her sponsorships were thinning. A brand deal she bragged about in November quietly pulled back in January. I made a list. Contacted 2 of her former clients under a fake email. Both responded. Both had stories. Both were willing to go on record, anonymously of course. That was enough. The stage was almost set. I started planting small seeds. I casually mentioned her name in an online forum where disgruntled clients of influencers shared stories. I didn't say anything defamatory. Just posted a general question. Anyone worked with Lena S? Curious about experience. The replies were slow at first. But one by one people started chiming in. Nothing explosive, but the tone was clear. Inconsistent, flaky, overpromises, underdelivers. I took screenshots, filed them, noted dates. She didn't know yet. Not even a flicker of suspicion in her eyes. Which meant I was doing it right. One night she texted me a photo of us as kids. We were sitting on the front steps of our old house. I had skinned knees and a popsicle. She had a perfect braid and a smug little grin. Remember this, she wrote. Back when things were simple. I stared at the image for a long time. Back then I thought she was my best friend. I didn't realize I was just another accessory in her carefully arranged life. I replied, yeah, seems like a lifetime ago. She sent a heart emoji. I turned off my phone and got back to work. Revenge isn't a scream. It's a mirror. And soon I was going to make Lena look straight into hers. Lena always said her biggest strength was intuition. She called it feminine alignment, like she had some sixth sense that told her who to trust, when to pivot, what move to make next. But the truth is, Lena didn't have intuition. She had control, and people confuse the two all the time. The slip happened on a Tuesday. She posted a carousel on Instagram. Her usual curated aesthetic. Iced latte, fake candid laughter, laptop at a perfectly arranged cafe table. But it was the caption that got me. Big news soon, Blackheart partnership finalized. Grateful to be the new face of the Saluna Wellness Retreats. Saluna. Blinked. Crawled back. Checked their profile. I knew someone who worked with them, Alicia. We'd met once at a charity gallery I'd helped design a flyer for. She remembered me because I was the only person not trying to network. I was just there to refill wine. DM'd her. Kept it light. Hey, random question. Just saw Lena S. posting about being a Saluna ambassador. Didn't know you two were working together again. 10 minutes later Alicia replied. Again. We're not. We passed on her pitch last month. She's not affiliated with us at all. I stared at the message, rereading it. So Lena lied. Again. Only this time publicly. And this time I had proof. I didn't act right away. I thanked Alicia, saved the screenshots, and quietly archived Lena's post. Because this wasn't just a lie. It was fraudulent self-branding. Something that could ruin a collaboration pipeline if it reached the right inboxes. And I knew exactly which inboxes to aim for. That night Lena texted me. Did you see my latest post? Big things coming, winking face dizzy. I replied. Proud of you, red heart, you've worked so hard. Let her smile. Let her sip her wine. Let her believe, for just a little longer, that the crown she wears isn't made of glass. Because when it breaks it's going to cut deep. I started mapping the timeline. She pitched Saluna in December. Got rejected. Lied about it in late January. Posted a fake announcement in February. And now. That lie was live. Had likes, comments and shares. She tagged the brand. Even used their hashtag. It wasn't just a slip. It was a time bomb. And I had the detonator. Next I made an anonymous email account. Simple. Generic. Clean. I composed a message to Saluna's partnerships director. Subject. Brand misrepresentation from influencer Lena S. I'm writing anonymously out of concern. I've seen that Lena S. has announced herself as a brand ambassador for Saluna Wellness. However, public claims like these, if untrue, can harm your brand's reputation. I've attached screenshots below of her post, as well as messages from team members stating no current affiliation. I thought you should be aware. Attachments. Lena's post. Alicia's DM. Timeline comparison. I hit send. Then I logged out. 2 days later, the post disappeared from Lena's profile. No explanation. No edit. Just gone. Waited. A week after that, she posted a cryptic story. Sometimes people try to dim your light because they're afraid of their own shadows. Let them. I almost laughed. But I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She was flinching and I hadn't even swung yet. Then came the ripple effect. A small influencer blog picked up the deleted post and started asking questions. They reached out to Saluna. Saluna confirmed there was no active partnership with Lena S. at this time. The blog didn't accuse. Asked. Politely. Professionally. But the implication was loud. Lena had lied. Again. Publicly. Brands started to distance. Quietly but noticeably. A sponsorship deal she'd teased for weeks suddenly vanished from her feed. The wellness summit she was co-hosting changed speakers. Her name disappeared from the flyer. And she still didn't know it was me. Kept playing nice. Sent her supportive messages. Checked in after she posted vague quotes about betrayal. People love to watch you fail. Just don't give them the pleasure. She was spiraling. And I was still smiling. The final signal came when she called me crying. I don't know what's going on, she said. Something's off. People aren't answering emails. My ad manager said engagements dropped. I feel like someone's sabotaging me. I let silence hang for 2 full seconds before answering. That sounds awful, I said gently. But maybe it's just a phase. You're strong. You'll get through it. She sniffled. Yeah, you're right. I asked if she wanted to come over. She said no. And for the first time in months I saw it, a flicker of doubt in her voice. Like maybe she was starting to suspect. But she wasn't sure. And as long as she wasn't sure, I still had the upper hand. Let her feel it. The confusion. The silence. The distance growing between her and the people who used to trust her. Let her wonder if it's karma. Let her spiral just enough to crack. Because the full collapse. That was still coming. Lena believed the worst was behind her. After the Saluna post disappeared and the influencer blog moved on, she convinced herself it was just a bump in her otherwise polished road. That's the thing about people like her. They think if they scrub fast enough, they can erase any stain. As if the internet doesn't keep receipts. As if people don't talk. She thought the web had cleared. But I wasn't the fly. I was the spider. And the threads were already shaking. It started with a message to a podcaster named Riley Finch, one of those true story content creators who dig into influencer scams and brand fraud. Her series, Curated Chaos, had gone viral twice in the last year. I sent her everything. Not all at once, that would be sloppy. Instead, I built the case like a detective. Screenshots of Lena's fake brand affiliations. Quotes from old podcasts where she contradicted herself. Voice memos from 2 ex-clients. Even a PDF of the unpublished blog post calling me deadweight. All anonymous. All backed up by files I kept in multiple cloud accounts under fake names. Riley replied 2 days later. This is huge. I've heard whispers about her before. Can you verify the sources? I sent her more redacted names but clear timelines. I can work with this. This might be the season opener for Volume 4. I didn't celebrate. Not yet. Because one thing I knew for sure. Lena would smell blood the moment the air shifted. And I needed her completely unaware. Meanwhile, I kept feeding her small comforts. I liked her posts. Laughed at her captions. Texted her funny reels. She responded with heart emojis and voice notes, her tone brighter, a little desperate, like she was clinging to the illusion that things were finally turning around. But under the surface, things were already falling apart. Her business email went down for 3 days because she forgot to renew the domain. 2 of her brand ambassadors pulled out quietly. One old tweet from 2018 resurfaced. Not offensive, but tone-deaf enough to spark criticism. The cracks had formed. Now all it needed was a push. And Riley? She didn't hold back. 3 weeks after I sent the last round of files, she dropped a teaser trailer. Episode 1, The Mask Slips. When Wellness Becomes a Weapon. Coming this Friday. And yes, you know her name. The audio clip that followed was unmistakably Lena, bragging about controlling narratives, laughing about people who can't keep up, and in the most damning moments saying, "People buy the dream, not the details. If they looked too close, none of us would have a platform." The internet exploded. I watched it all unfold from my couch. Coffee in hand. Hoodie on. Come heart. The clip hit Twitter first. Then TikTok. Then IG threads. And suddenly everyone had an opinion. Commenters started pulling receipts from their own archives. Brand inconsistencies, overcharged product sales, ghosted collaborations. It was like watching a building fall in slow motion. One floor collapsing into the next. Lena responded with silence. Then a generic story post. Some people thrive on tearing others down. Choose grace. Cherry blossom. The comments section disagreed. Her followers dropped by the thousands overnight. One brand made a public statement. Another launched an internal investigation. Her name trended for 12 hours straight. Not in the way she wanted. And still, she didn't know it was me. That weekend she called me. Voice shaking. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why me?" I sat on my bed looking out the window, phone to my ear. "You're strong," I said. "Maybe this is just the truth catching up." She exhaled like someone trying not to cry. "Do you think I deserve this?" I didn't answer. Yes, I did. She didn't just lie. She built an empire on shadows and ego, and when the sun finally rose, she blamed the light. But I wasn't going to give her that truth. Not yet. Riley's full episode dropped the next day. It was devastating. Not just because it exposed Lena's lies, but because it framed them with compassion. It painted her as someone addicted to image, obsessed with control, unable to face who she really was. That hurt more than outright hate. She couldn't play victim to it. She had to sit with it. And the silence that followed online. That was the worst part for her. Not the outrage. Not the backlash. The disinterest. The spotlight turning away. A week later, she deactivated her Instagram. No announcement. No goodbye post. Just vanished. People noticed. Some were curious. Most moved on. That's what she feared the most. Not being hated. Being forgotten. I didn't dance in the ashes. I didn't screenshot every comment or send Riley flowers. I just closed the laptop. Breathe. 'Cause it was done. The world saw her now. Not through my words. Through hers. And I never had to raise my voice once. You know what surprised me the most? It wasn't the collapse. It was how fast the silence came after. 1 week, Lena's face was on every sponsored post, every panel announcement, every fake deep quote carousel. And the next, she was gone. No statements. No explanations. Just an empty page where her profile used to be. I didn't check on her. Not directly. But you'd be surprised how much people say when they think no one's listening. I heard whispers through mutuals. She's taking a break. She had a breakdown. She moved in with a friend for a while. She might go offline permanently. All said in that soft, guilty tone people use when a queen loses her crown. But here's the thing. She wasn't a queen. She was a carefully constructed illusion, propped up by attention, ego, and selective memory. And once those things dried up, there was nothing left to hold the throne. It didn't take long for the family to catch on either. My aunt called me a week later. The same one who used to gush over Lena's podcast and repost her reels like gospel. She sounded awkward, like someone trying to apologize without saying sorry. "I always thought you two were close," she said. I laughed. We were never close. She just kept me nearby. I think I believed what she wanted me to believe. I didn't respond. Some truths speak loudest in the pauses. Dad called too. He didn't ask questions. He didn't mention the blog or the podcast or the chaos that followed. He just said, "I should have listened to you sooner." That was enough. What happened next didn't feel like victory. Felt like relief. No more pretending. No more dodging her spotlight. No more shrinking to keep the peace. Just space. Clean, wide, honest space. I started writing again. Not for social media. Not for likes or comments or praise. Just for me. Messy, handwritten pages. Tangents. Memories. Pages. I wrote about the Walgreens parking lot. About the Thanksgiving table. About the silence that followed the betrayal. And I wrote about the moment I realized I didn't need to scream to be powerful. I just had to stop apologizing for existing. One day, I drove past Lena's old co-working studio. The logo was faded. The curtains were gone. The windows were covered in brown paper. Closed. No sign, no goodbye, no tribute. Just gone. Felt appropriate. Some exits don't need fireworks. Just an unlocked door and no one waiting on the other side. Weeks passed. Then months. People stopped asking about her. The algorithm moved on. The audience moved on. The queen was gone and no one missed the throne. As for me, I didn't rise from the ashes. I just kept walking. Steady. Quiet. Free. No dramatic glow-up. No revenge montage. Just a woman finally breathing in a space she made for herself. I repainted my walls. Switched my phone off at night. Took morning walks without checking social media first. Slept without the weight of her shadow stretched across my chest. I wasn't interested in being liked anymore. I wanted peace. And for the first time in my life. Had it. Strange how quiet freedom is. There's no applause. No climactic swell of music. No slow-motion scene of me staring into the distance while everything fades behind me. Just feels like stillness. And for the first time I didn't flinch when it came. I moved into a small place near the edge of town. Not some huge transformation. Just mine. 2 bedrooms. A narrow kitchen. Hardwood floors that creaked slightly when I walked too fast. I painted the walls soft gray and deep green. Hung up the watercolor Lena once called depressing. It went right above the entryway. First thing anyone sees when they walk in. I didn't ask for opinions. I didn't wait for someone else to approve the choices. It wasn't about the space. It was about finally choosing for myself. I didn't tell many people I'd moved. No, just sign the lease announcement. No Instagram boomerangs of paint rollers. I just packed my things. One by one. Quietly. Like a woman removing parts of herself from a place that never saw her clearly. And as I folded my sweaters and wrapped up old mugs, I didn't feel bitter. Felt clean. That house. My childhood home, our family's illusion of warmth. It had never been mine. This one was. I got a job at a local gallery. Small, independent, a bit chaotic. I helped design flyers, set up installations, taught a Saturday art class to kids who asked the best questions I'd ever heard. One little girl named June asked if the colors I used in my painting were mad or quiet. Stunned me. No adult had ever asked me anything like that. I told her. A little of both. She smiled and said, "Yeah, I thought so." That moment stayed with me for days. Dad visited the new place once. He brought a toolkit and a lemon pie. Didn't try to explain anything. Didn't apologize again. Just fixed the loose cabinet hinge, ate a slice of pie, and asked if I needed anything. Said no. But later, I found a small box by the door with 3 new paintbrushes, a journal, and a note that said, "For the life you're building, one that's finally yours." I didn't cry. But I kept the note in my drawer, folded neatly. I didn't check on Lena. Not because I was avoiding her. Because she didn't exist in this version of my life. People like her only matter if you keep their name in your mouth. And I had better things to speak now. One night I sat on my porch, a chipped mug of tea in my hands, and let the air settle around me. No voices, no pressure. Just me, the stars, and the faint hum of a world that wasn't spinning quite so fast anymore. I wasn't waiting for something to go wrong. I wasn't preparing for impact. I was just still. And for a girl who once mistook invisibility for peace, that felt like everything. I started drawing again. Not to prove a point. Not to impress anyone. Just because my fingers itched and my heart felt steady enough to hold color again. I painted quiet streets, coffee mugs, lemon trees. And once, just once, I painted a girl with her back turned to a burning house, holding a lighter and smiling slightly. I didn't name it. Didn't hang it. Just kept it stacked between other canvases. Some things are just for me. Revenge never really gave me power. But clarity did. The power to decide who I am, without needing to explain it. The power to leave when the room starts to shrink. The power to stop apologizing for the space I take up. And that, more than anything, is what Lena never understood. She wanted followers. I wanted freedom. She needed control. I just wanted peace. She chased image. Found identity. She'll always be looking for a new mask to wear. Finally took mine off. There are kinds of silence no one prepares you for. Not the awkward kind at a dinner table. Not the angry kind after a slammed door. This was different. This was the silence that comes after survival. The kind that fills a room and doesn't ask you to explain anything. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing anything. Not approval. Not understanding. Not closure. Just space. Just breath. Just being. I remember the day I realized I hadn't thought about her in weeks. It hit me while I was doing laundry. Standing in my tiny hallway, folding socks, listening to rain tap on the windows. No weight in my chest. No tension in my jaw. Just nothing. Lena had finally stopped echoing in my mind. She was a chapter one didn't need to reread. I'd spent years believing her words. Letting them rewrite my self-worth. You're too emotional. You overreact. You just need to let things go. And for so long I did. Let it go. Let it slide. Let myself believe that being quiet meant I was strong. But silence isn't strength if it comes from fear. Real strength is choosing when to speak and when not to, and doing both without shame. That winter I started recording voice notes. Not for anyone else. Just for me. Snippets of thoughts. Memories. The way the sky looked on cold mornings. A dream I had about my mother's voice. The moment I caught myself laughing without holding back. I played them back on hard days. Not because I doubted myself. Because I was learning to recognize myself again. Not the girl in Lena's stories. Not the shadow of a golden sister. Just me. People asked if I'd forgiven her. They meant well. But they were asking the wrong question. This wasn't about forgiveness. It was about distance. About finally standing far enough from her that I could see clearly. And in that distance, forgiveness didn't matter. I didn't need to carry rage. I just needed to carry me. I applied for a local artist residency. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't overthink the submission. Just mailed in my portfolio and forgot about it. 3 weeks later I got the call. Accepted. The program was small. 6 artists, 3 months, full studio access, a modest grant to cover supplies. It wasn't fame. It wasn't fortune. But it was mine. My first day at the studio, I brought only one canvas. Blank. No outline. No plan. I let my hands move without permission. Brush to color. Color to shape. Shape to story. By sunset it looked nothing like I expected. It was messy. Sharp in places. Soft in others. Didn't have a message. It had a presence. Like it belonged. Like I did. I didn't post it online. Didn't title it. Just leaned it against the wall. Cleaned my brushes and whispered. This is what you were supposed to be all along. Not Lena's shadow. Not the soft-spoken sister. Not a supporting character in a spotlight that was never yours. But a voice. Hand. Truth. Sometimes healing isn't loud. Sometimes it's just finally living in a space where your phone isn't buzzing with someone else's crisis. Where your name doesn't get twisted in someone else's story. Where no one's watching you, waiting for you to trip so they can say, "See, I told you she couldn't handle it." And in that space, she can't follow. 'Cause it's real. And Lena doesn't know what to do with real. She'll probably resurface someday. New name, new brand, new lie. But she won't find me there. Because I'm not waiting. I'm not watching. I'm not shrinking anymore. I'm building. Quietly. Boldly. Without her. There's no final scene. No slow pan out. No swelling music or poetic monologue echoing into the night. Just me. Waking up before sunrise. Padding across my creaky wooden floors. Putting on water for tea. Opening the window to let the cold air bite my skin. Just enough to remind me that I'm alive. And no one else is writing this part for me. I hung the last painting yesterday. It's the one I almost didn't finish. The one I started in the middle of the storm, when the weight of Lena's voice still curled under my skin like old bruises. It's not pretty. The lines are rough. The colors bleed into each other. There's a crack near the bottom from when I dropped the canvas halfway through. But I didn't fix it. I left the crack there. Because it's part of the story. And this time I don't need to cover anything up. People still ask about her sometimes. Friends who haven't seen her online. Old colleagues who remember her voice on some podcast or panel. Shrug. She's doing her thing, I say. Which is true. Just not in my orbit anymore. I didn't get revenge. Not really. I just stopped participating in her performance. And that was enough. No more defending my version of events. No more reacting to hers. I'm not the girl at the Thanksgiving table anymore. I'm not frozen. I'm not humiliated. I'm not waiting for someone to hand me a seat I already earned. I am the table now. There's a new routine now. Every Sunday I sweep the studio floor. I put on old records. Paint barefoot. Some days I create things that make no sense. Some days I sketch in silence for hours, then throw the page away. But every day I show up. Not because I owe anyone. Not because I'm trying to prove I'm healed or whole or better now. But because this is mine. This is living. Dad calls once a week. Sometimes we talk about work. Sometimes about nothing at all. Last week he asked if I'd ever consider submitting my art to a national exhibit. I think the world should see it, he said. I told him, maybe someday. But what I meant was, the right people already do. I framed a photo last month. It's not of me. Not of her. Not of anything specific. It's a black and white image of an empty chair. Sunlight pouring in through an open window. Dust caught mid-air. It sits in the hallway, right before the door to my studio. People ask what it means. I tell them. It's the place I used to wait for permission. Now it's just light and space. And that house. The one I used to dream about. Full of shadows and secrets and stolen moments. I don't visit it anymore. It's not mine to remember. It was never mine, not really. Because what I've built now, with my hands, my art, my breath, that's the real inheritance. That's the future. And no one can gift it. No one can take it. No one can rewrite it. Somewhere out there Lena probably thinks I hate her. That I'm still stewing. Still planning. Still nursing wounds she never admitted she left behind. But the truth. She's not even the point anymore. She was just the match. I was always the flame. So no, there's no final showdown. No courtroom. No viral post. No applause. Just peace. Just ownership. Just a woman who finally chose herself. Every day. Without needing a reason. Because this life is mine now.